that there are only two genders, male and female.
God, this country is so crazy. How do you not recognize how messed up things are, man? It is crazy. It is crazy. Ken Klippenstein is already on it. Border Patrol has already been given a list of new intelligence collection priorities today. Homeland Security source tells me it's already beginning. So as far as like me saying, oh, I think everything is just bad, the Trump supporter will hear me say that and go, oh, get wrecked, liberal. You're only saying that because Donald Trump is president and you feel bad because your party lost. But I've maintained this not so cheery attitude since before the election season ended. I have been on a relatively cynical, relatively pessimistic path since, I would say, the aftermath of the DNC. Vibes have been bad. Like, I think America, the American project, is coming to a close. But I do think that Trump will make it faster, if that makes sense. Like, I think that our demise is inevitable. And I also think that Trump supporters themselves kind of see it too. Maybe last time around, maybe in 2016, they had an environment of hope and change. Ironically enough, white man's Obama had taken over the government, and it was the first time around, so they were excited. This time, it's more about vengeance upon their enemies, right? Enforcing cruel and unusual punishments upon those who they feel have betrayed them. Liberals, trans people, Mexicans, and the like. But overall, I think everyone's kind of, like, even normies, I would say, kind of have this attitude where they feel like things are not looking too good. Things are not looking too great for America, even with Donald Trump as president. Or at least that's the attitude that I'm getting from people that I know that have voted for Donald Trump. I've talked about this yesterday. There's a whole thesis that can be written about the fact that fashion houses are now open to dressing both Usha and Melania as opposed to not dressing anyone during the Trump first term. There's a normalization that's happening. Yeah. Also, there's also a historical parallel here that we can point to as well in terms of, you know, the Nazi movement, the aesthetics of fascism, fashion and fascism intersecting, and how big fashion houses also had no issues with historical fascist movements and actually supported them too, whether it be Hugo Boss or even Chanel. I think that there is a historical parallel there to a certain degree, but you're absolutely right. It's something that I brought up as well. Oscar de la Renta was openly posting about dressing Usha Vance, right? JD Vance's wife. So I agree. All of these like elite corporations are this time around completely servile to the interests of fascists, right? Here it is, Oscar de la Renta talking about Ivanka Trump. Swipe to see the making of Ivanka Trump's custom pearl and crystal gown. Such elegance. This is something that I have I've thought about quite a bit, but it's look, all I'm saying is second time Trump version 2.0 is perceived as very normal, okay? Trump version 2.0 is no longer weird, odd, unique, an aberration. Trump version 1.0 was not necessarily unique in terms of like what he did, because he was the logical endpoint of the Republican Party, right? And I maintain that position quite a bit, and liberals would get mad at me whenever I said like Trump in 2016 was doing things that the Republicans would do. The only difference was he was more incompetent, more openly about his corruption, and also utilizing the bully pulpit to accelerate racist rhetoric, right? Normalizing and accelerating racist rhetoric. And people will get kind of mad at me about it. They would say like, what do you mean? No, you don't understand. Trump is different. Trump is different. Trump is a different type of president. It's like, no, he accelerated down to January 6th, down to all of the election is stolen conspiracies. Donald Trump's attitude was not different than the rest of the Republican Party. His communication was different than the rest of the Republican Party. And I used to point to the likes of Paul Ryan, institutional Republicans that were considered normal Republicans that would get like puff pieces about how he likes to work out and stuff like that by GQ, doing the same exact the elections are stolen by immigrants rhetoric, but using very different words. Like never fully openly stating that as a fact, right? Donald Trump, on the other hand, took away the dog whistles and basically went full tilt with it. Like he cast aside the civility and the aesthetics of civility. And I think that was shocking for a lot of liberals. They're like, what are you talking about? This is not how we do. This is not how we operate. This is not who we are. But while I was, clowning on the aesthetics focused, optics focused, civility focused, resistance liberalism the first time around, I do still think that level of pressure, at least to a certain degree, created a permission structure and a counterbalance against all of the awful things that the Trump administration was doing. And liberal media also was hyper-focusing on all of the awful things that the Trump administration was doing. It's not happening this time around, okay? That's what's truly interesting. It's not happening this time around. So I don't know what that is going to look like. I don't know what's going to what that's going to look like now. Liberalism is dead. It was already on its, it was already gasping for air, but it's officially, I think, dead. And what comes next, unfortunately for everyone, is obviously fascism. They have capital accumulation. They have concentration of power, backing from the capital accumulators and those who have concentrated power. They have better organizational structure. They have better entry points into institutional control. And very clearly, that is the new game in town. So we'll see what happens next. But as you look at all of these like wealthy aristocrats and politicians smiling and dining together, when you look at our elites enjoying the show, just remember that, this is in some ways going to be the expected outcome. This was always going to happen, but Donald Trump, I suspect, will, accelerate America's demise even more. Anyway, let's look at one of these tech billionaire oligarchs speaking at the inauguration.
My heart goes out to you.
Did he just Sig Heil?
It is thanks to you that the future of civilization is assured. Thanks to you. We're going to have safe cities, finally, safe cities. Secure borders, sensible spending, basic stuff. And we're going to take Doge to Mars. I mean, can you imagine how awesome it will be to have American astronauts plant the flag on another planet for the first time? How inspiring would that be? There's always problems in life. There's this problem, solve that problem. But there need to be things that inspire you. There need to be things that make you glad to wake up in the morning and say, I'm looking forward to the future. Yeah. And I love you guys. So, and let me tell you, I'm gonna work my ass off for you guys. So, I really will. So, and yeah, but I'm super fired up for the future. It's going to be very exciting. As the president said, we're going to have a golden age. It's going to be fantastic. And one of the fundamental things, one of the most American values that I love is optimism. And this feeling like we're gonna make the future good. We're gonna make it good. So
I think aesthetically American, like the American reactionary movement is so funny because it's also incredibly lame. Like fascist movements of the past hyper focused on the aesthetics, right? They cared a lot about like their visual output. They had this like insane, intense interest in making it seem as though they were superior and that like moral degeneracy must be squashed and that you know, everything down to the minutia was organized. And it's kind of funny to think that like the American version of that is so lame, is so, not to say that like German fascism was cool or whatever, but like they obviously placed a lot of emphasis on the aesthetics of order. Okay, like the visual output was important. The way that people delivered speeches, these were things that they cared about quite a bit. Whereas in the United States of America, we're just like we have these like obvious losers being like, we're gonna place a Dogecoin on Mars.
And you know, this great coverage we've been able to bring you all day, courtesy.
Bro, that's crazy, dude. They have a betting app. Oh my God, they have a betting app that's like sponsoring the inauguration where they're talking about Trump's banning of TikTok chances. Dude, I don't know how else to describe how dystopian America is right now, okay? I just don't know. I don't know what else to say. America's on fire all the time. It's underwater all the time. There are like Texas probably is going to lose its energy once again due to climate change. There's like, it was like snowing in Houston the other day. Okay. And it's not even like a cool dystopia. Where are the neon lights? Where's my Suckmaster 5000? I don't got none of the cool stuff. The only capitalist dystopia that we exist under allows the leadership to do cryptocurrency rug pulls a day before they actually become the president. Like, that is how lame things are. I will admit, while I do know that things were going to get bad, I just didn't think that it would be like the collapse of American empire would be so lame, you know? It's crazy, man. It's crazy to think. Yeah, the only Suckmaster 5000 is Mark Zuckerberg at the Capitol. As your Houston chatter, the snow is supposed to come in at like dinner time tonight. Something stupid like 5 inches of it. Oh, Jesus. Oh. All right, let's get to let's watch the swearing in ceremony.
Please
as we
raise
wait
your
for
right
the next
hand
event.
and repeat after me. I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear.
I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear.
That I will support.
Wait, I thought his name was Johnson Don. I thought his name was John Don Vance.
And defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith.
That I will bear true faith.
And allegiance to the same.
And allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
Without.
It's not Jorkin the Peanuts Vance. That's crazy.
Any mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
The duties of the office.
The duties of the office.
On which I am about to enter.
On which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. Vice President.
They want everything, man. They want everything.
Please welcome Chief Justice Roberts to administer the presidential oath of office.
I clipped the sus Elon gesture. So did a billion people. Bro, Steven Crowder said, bro, what? Chat. You want to know something? Look at, dude, that move from Elon Musk was so insane. Steven Crowder posted it. Do you understand how insane that is? My man hit that Roman salute, dude. That is not a sus moment. It's not suspicious. It's auspicious, okay? It's out there. It's out and about.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do so.
Yeah, people are talking about how Donald John Trump didn't put his hand on the Bible when he was being sworn in, and I think that's really funny because he's the Antichrist, okay? You want to know why he didn't put his hand on the Bible? Because he's the Antichrist. If he touches the Bible and swears on it, he will erupt in flame, okay? No, because he's Muslim. Yeah, that too. Also, that's true. That's true.
Solemnly swear
That I will faithfully execute.
that I will faithfully execute
The office of President of the United States.
the office of President of the United States
And will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
We did it. We did it. We did it. Oh my God, we did it. Here, let's look at the inauguration speech as we await further activities from the day, okay?
Vice President.
Here.
Thank you very much, everybody. Well, thank you very, very much. Vice President Vance, Speaker Johnson, Senator Thune, Chief Justice Roberts, Justices of the United States Supreme Court, President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, President Biden,
Obama.
Vice President Harris,
Obama.
and my fellow citizens. The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first. Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end.
Wow. I love that that is like the first thing he says. Like his first statements as president is, it's so unfair to me. The State Department and the Justice Department has been so unfair to me. I'm done with that. Except I'm not done with that. I'm just going to redirect it back to my enemies now.
And our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free. America will soon be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before. I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country. Sunlight is pouring over the entire world, and America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before.
Like, I don't think anybody believes this. I'm being serious. I think we're doing shock doctrine to ourselves in this upcoming stage. I think what we did to the USSR in the dissolution of the USSR, we are doing to ourselves, because once the Cold War ended and capitalism won, neoliberalism was the domineering ideology in the Western capitalist world, and America dominated the planet. And in that process, of course, we still enforced cruelty upon the global South, and we accelerated imperialism as well. But what I suspect, and what we have been doing for the last couple of decades, I think, and what I think will accelerate even further now, late stage capitalism, as some would call it, is basically turning the crosshairs of exploitation back to the, back to the domestic affairs, virtually colonizing the interior, rather than simply keeping it to the exterior and offering some of those benefits back to the labor aristocrats, offering some of the bounties of empire back to the domestic population. I think we will start picking at the scraps of what remains of the American government. It's not even blowback necessarily. It's not even blowback. It's just that capital is a parasitic force inherently, okay? It always has to dominate because it always seeks out more profit. And you cannot generate more profit when technology keeps advancing and it makes things easily accessible. There is no infinite growth. So when there is no infinite growth, at the end of the day, when you're done destroying the global South, you inevitably have to turn those crosshairs back to your domestic labor population. And I think that's what we're doing. The age of leisure, my ass. No, the age of leisure was like the 80s and 90s, right? The dot-com bubble, like all of the bounties of like assuming that we can just like permanently grow and permanently prosper. And then what happened? 2008 housing market crash. Obviously 9/11, war on terror, 2008 housing market crash. And in that process, instead of slamming the brakes on the permanent growth attitude that we had, the permanent profit-seeking attitude we had, what do? Even in our recovery, what did Obama do, for example? He kept up the pre-existing hierarchy, and that recovery process was still K-shaped in the exact same way that we saw after COVID. Those at the top ended up gaining from this collapse, even though they were responsible for this collapse through multiple decades worth of neoliberal deregulation. On the one hand, it was still very much both Democrats and Republicans of the past that caused the 2008 housing market to happen. And they did that because they were doing the bidding of the wealthy, the super wealthy, and the corporations. But even in that recovery, there was still opportunity for more profits. So it is not an accident that in that time frame, America saw great wealth transfers that continued to trickle upwards rather than evenly distribute down to the working class. That would have been a much healthier recovery for America. But even in that process, we decided, nope, we're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. And I suspect that is where we're at right now. I think as things worsen, as societal collapse becomes inevitable, the same profit seekers, corporations, and the super wealthy will continue trying to generate as much wealth as they possibly can. And they will do so by genuinely worsening the material conditions of the American labor force as well. So I think Yanis Varoufakis is correct when he says we are in the age of techno-feudalism.
But first, we must be honest about the challenges we face. While they are plentiful, they will be annihilated by this great momentum that the world is now witnessing in the United States of America. As we gather today, our government confronts a crisis of trust. For many years, a radical and corrupt establishment has extracted power and wealth from our citizens while the pillars of our society lay broken and seemingly in complete disrepair. We now have a government that cannot manage even a simple crisis at home, while at the same time stumbling into a continuing catalog of catastrophic events abroad. It fails to protect our magnificent, law-abiding American citizens, but provides sanctuary and protection for dangerous criminals, many from prisons and mental institutions that have illegally entered our country from all over the world.
I do think that Republicans do a better job of marketing their not administrative functions, but I think Republicans do a better job of just like pacifying the public by not actually pacifying them, but making them more angry. But instead of being angry at the systems, redirecting that anger towards marginalized people, right? Democrats, on the other hand, approach it with like this institutional stability attitude, right? They say, oh, good things are not possible. We're the adults in the room. Of course, we're going to have to give you the broccoli. You have to just sit there and eat this vegetable. And if you cry about it, well, then you're too stupid to understand that it's good for you. Whereas the Republicans will come in and be like, no, we're going to give you sugar all day, every day. Candy for dinner, baby. That's right. Meanwhile, they're serving you the same poison. And even at a more accelerated rate than the Democrats are serving you that poison. Because Democrats do actually, to a certain degree, reinstate stability. They're still the adults in comparison to the Republicans, at least on domestic issues, right? At least on domestic affairs. But Americans, as conditions worsen for them, Americans understand that these institutions are not there to protect them at all. So they don't care necessarily, if that makes sense. They don't care about preserving these institutions because they're like, what has that done for me? What has that done for me at all? I don't care. So they seek out someone who will at least offer them some additional treats or offer them anything, really. A fear that I've had, that I have consistently reiterated through the first Trump administration, was the Tucker Carlson phenomenon. Tucker Carlson came into prominence at Fox News as a WASP nationalist, right? A person who was very good at propagandizing a national socialist position, right? But for Americans who, still ultimately think Nazis are bad, at least for the time being. And what he would do is hype up a populist sentiment, a pro-worker sentiment, but pro-legacy American worker sentiment. He would call it legacy Americans. He can't call them Native Americans, obviously, because that's an entirely different thing. What that meant was WASPs. And I often warn that if the Democrats do not engage honestly and earnestly with left-wing economic populism, they will cede ground to the right that will do that. And they will not do that in an honest way at all. They will simply use that as a marketing tool. And that's what Tucker Carlson did. And that's kind of what Trump did too, the first time around, and certainly doing it now. And that's where we're at. In the eyes of many Americans, Donald Trump is seen as the guy who is protecting the American working class interests. By doing what? By fighting against the scourge of migration into the country, by scary brown folk that want to kill, rape, pillage, and steal your jobs, but also steal your welfare. But Donald Trump also is seen as the protector of working class interests because he's going to do trade isolationist policies that will restore the manufacturing capabilities of America. Now, will he actually restore the manufacturing capabilities of America? Absolutely not. I don't believe that at all, because at the end of the day, he himself is a billionaire and also cares about the corporate oligarchy. And if I look at all the things that Donald Trump has done in his first term, his most successful initiatives have always been at the behest of the oligarchs, at the behest of the corporations and the super wealthy. What is his signature policy accomplishment? His signature policy accomplishment was what? Tax cuts. Gigantic tax cuts at a time when American corporations were already seeing supercharged profits. Corporate tax rate being lowered, and a permanent tax break for the top marginal tax rate. And he's going to do that again. All of that actually accelerates the demise of the American working class because it greatly increases the wealth disparity. It greatly elevates income inequality in this country. It is the opposite of what America needs right now. And part of the reason why we have never gotten that is because the Democratic Party is also invested in the same endeavors. They are also bought and sold by the same corporate oligarchs. So we're watching that happen now. Democrats have completely dropped the ball on being the working class party and protecting the working class. So, of course, the Republicans are filling that void, at least aesthetically, as they continue to do the very same things that they did every time they've gotten into power. Deregulation at the best of corporations and tax breaks for the extremely wealthy. You might get a tax cut in the process as well, a crumb, right? Let's say your effective tax rate at the end of the year is like 40%, okay? Now it's going to be 37%. But the effective tax rate for the billionaires and the super wealthy was already at 0.01%. Now it's going to be close to zero as physically possible. And that difference from 0.01% to close to zero is in the billions.
We have a government that has given unlimited funding to the defense of foreign borders, but refuses to defend American borders or, more importantly, its own people. Our country can no longer deliver basic services in times of emergency, as recently shown by the wonderful people of North Carolina, been treated so badly, and other states who are still suffering from a hurricane that took place many months ago, or more recently, Los Angeles, where we are watching fires still tragically burn from weeks ago without even a token of defense.
He's talking about Israel? Yeah, dude, totally. Yeah, Donald Trump is gonna no longer fund Israeli defense. Just wait.
They're raging through the house.
No, he's talking about Ukraine, okay? And even then, he's not being super honest about that either. I have also, look, I've been right so far on every single thing that has happened before Trump came into office, whether it be the ceasefire and what I warned about, like what will come down the line in terms of the ceasefire negotiations and where it will possibly go and what Trump will possibly do. I also told you that TikTok most likely was not going to get banned because it's like far too important for, you know, American small businesses, and that basically treats are the most important thing for Americans. It's like it's the thing that keeps the American social contract together. Okay. And heed my warning now. Okay. I have said this before many times over. I do not believe that Donald Trump is going to take an anti-Ukraine stance in the way that liberal media claimed he would. If he throws Ukraine under the bus, what do you think it means? I think that he is aesthetically adopting that, like, why are we giving so much money to foreign nations and not funding our own borders? But what he will do will be very different, because Ukraine is not about, for Ukrainians, Ukrainian emancipation is an understandable, just, and moral cause. It is the most moral cause. Okay? For America, on the other hand, Ukraine is not about Ukrainian emancipation at all. Ukraine is about profits. Ukraine is about privatizing state-owned enterprise and buying it for pennies on the dollar. Ukraine is about debt. Ukraine is about our surplus weapons that we send over there so that we can, so that our military-industrial complex can justify larger sums, larger bounties down the line, because now we have to rebuild our supply. Ukraine is about military Keynesianism, building artillery factories in Scranton, Pennsylvania. That's what Ukraine is about for the United States of America. It's for profit. For those reasons, I do not believe that Donald Trump is going to undermine the interests of the military-industrial complex, as he did not do so his first time around. He might have actually dealt with Afghanistan and talked about pulling out of Afghanistan, but he never actually succeeded in pulling out of Afghanistan. That was Joe Biden that did that. And then Ukraine happened. So I don't think that he is going to, I don't personally think that he's going to do something that's like dramatically different than Joe Biden in terms of dealing with Ukraine or NATO in general. After all, one thing that you have to remind yourselves is that Trump actually ran as an anti-NATO candidate, right? He claimed that he was like, why are we giving so much money to these NATO countries? And what did he do when he was president? It's not like he undermined NATO. He simply demanded that our NATO partners, our NATO allies, give more back to the United States of America. Like a mob boss coming in and demanding more from the local Italian food restaurant for protection, because NATO at the end of the day is a protection racket. And it was so not a destabilizing move that the Biden administration continued Trump's policies in that regard. It's not like Biden went back and said, hey, you guys no longer have to put more into the NATO fund. They just kept it up. They continued it, right? And I think that things like that are more instructive of understanding what Donald Trump is going to do next. I don't think that he is going to destabilize NATO or undermine it, or he's like secretly Vladimir Putin's guy. What is this? Hasan is right. He called it. Now media is saying it. Why Biden's Ukraine win was Zelensky's loss. We'll see if he actually tries to do a ceasefire in Ukraine. It's entirely dependent on our profit-seeking military-industrial complex. I think that ultimately that is what matters most. The best possible way to go about it from Trump's perspective, where he still maintains a steady flow of weapons being shipped out to Ukraine, but also gets it's an aesthetic victory, would be to minimize the conflict to the best of his ability, where there's still need for Ukrainian security. You can still say, you can still ship out weapons to Ukraine, while simultaneously you can tell your base, like, we fixed it. We fixed Ukraine. Russia's no longer invading Ukraine. I don't know what that looks like. But like I said, I don't think that Trump is going to greatly undermine or, genuinely change the trajectory of American foreign policy on Ukraine. Liberals will be proven to be the war-hungry party. The grown-ups who went to the best elite schools can't get any deal done because they don't want to. European liberals literally couldn't talk about the idea of Ukraine doing a deal with Russia because of America. Yeah, I think just as I was an advocate for a ceasefire no matter what in Palestine, I was an advocate for a ceasefire no matter what in Ukraine as well. Okay? I've been consistent on these positions across the board because ultimately, ceasefires and any cessation of hostility is better than continuing to do war, even if the foreign adversary on the other side of that is not willing to play ball and will take advantage of said ceasefire and reignite hostilities down the line. But if hostilities are happening and a moment of respite from that, is still good, because ultimately the counter to that is still going back to square one and continuing to bomb one another. If we had a competent leadership in Biden, if Biden truly was the foreign policy PhD that his administration propped him up as, I think that he would have forced Israel to cease hostilities in its military operations and its genocide instantly, okay? And started the rebuilding efforts. But he never did that. That led to Donald Trump winning the election and also immediately sending his envoy there to actually apply pressure to the only party that was ruining the ceasefire negotiations. That gave a ginormous W to Donald Trump. In that process, I suspect that Donald Trump cut a side deal with Israel as well. I believe that he ultimately wants Israel to permanently annex the West Bank. At least that's what I suspect is going to happen, because that's what Miriam Adelson gave him $100 million to do so. Joe Biden never did that. In terms of Russia and Ukraine, I foresee something similar happening there as well. Like a minor moment, like a moment of solace that is then followed by, again, permanent war. And perhaps even more war and more bloodshed. So we shall see. I don't know. I don't know what ends up happening. But let's get back to Donald Trump.
In communities, even affecting some of the wealthiest and most powerful individuals in our country, some of whom are sitting here right now. They don't have a home any longer. That's interesting. But we can't let this happen. Everyone is unable to do anything about it. That's going to change. We have a public health system that does not deliver in times of disaster, yet more money is spent on it. than any country anywhere in the world. And we have an education system that teaches our children to be ashamed of themselves in many cases, to hate our country despite the love that we try so desperately to provide to them. All of this will change starting today, and it will change very quickly. My recent election is a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal and all of these many betrayals that have taken place, and to give the people back their faith, their wealth, their democracy, and indeed their freedom. From this moment on, America's decline is over. Our liberties and our nation's glorious destiny will no longer be denied, and we will immediately restore the integrity, competency, and loyalty of America's government. Over the past 8 years, I have been tested and challenged more than any president in our 250-year history, and I've learned a lot along the way. The journey to reclaim our republic has not been an easy one, that I can tell you. Those who wish to stop our cause have tried to take my freedom and indeed to take my life. Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much. That is why each day under our administration of American patriots, we will be working to meet every crisis with dignity and power and strength. We will move with purpose and speed to bring back hope.
Are you still going to argue religion isn't the problem? Dude, yeah. Donald Trump, Mr. Religion. That is, I'm sorry. That is the funniest. Dude, looking at the Antichrist and being like, wow, dude, are you still acting like religion isn't a major issue here? No, it proves my point. It's not about him, it's his supporters. Dude, what are you talking about? What religious person that is a Trump supporter that you know is actually godly? They're all going to hell. If Christian hell exists, they're going there, okay? Virtually every single evangelical Protestant that is a Trump supporter is perma-burning in hell. If there is a God, if there is a Christian hell, they're going to it, okay? Who abides by the religious standards of the religious doctrine, of the religious dogma? What are you talking about? It's just a weapon to wield, okay? That's it. Religion is ideology. It is a way for people to contextualize the world, okay? It is a galvanizing principle. Religion in this regard, is no different than white supremacy in this regard. Being used as a tool to divide, being used as a tool to galvanize. That's it. You think Trump is a religious guy? You think half of those congresspersons are religious people? Yeah, religious people that think homosexuality is a sin. And then, you know, except for when RNC is happening or CPAC's happening, then homosexuality is awesome, okay? It's nothing. It's not real. Like, this is not a real principle. It's not a real principled approach. It's just religion is a tool, okay? It's funny because for Trump, he doesn't even care to even remotely appear as religious. That's why it's funny. He doesn't even care to be, he doesn't even care to present himself as like a religious person at all. And yet the also supposedly quote unquote religious people love him. Why? Because it has nothing to do with religion whatsoever. It has everything to do with punishing their enemies. Okay? Most religious people, if you listen to like evangelical pastors and Christian nationalists, Christian dominionists, and all these other people, some of which are now going to be in Trump's cabinet, okay? They recognize that Trump is not the godliest person. They openly will say that. They'll be the first to tell you that. But they also think he actually, his policies help them, okay? And for them, their demonstration of religion is about punishing people that they hate. If it wasn't religion, it'd be something else.
Prosperity, safety, and peace for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. For American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is...
Look at, dude, I love this. 2 hours after performing a very energetic sermon at the inauguration, Pastor Lorenzo Sewell has launched a crypto token. God, this country is so crazy. We are, dude, how do you not recognize how messed up things are, man? We are farming the dullards for the last dollars that they have. It's griftonomics all the way down, baby. And ironically, all the way up. It is crazy. It is crazy. Like the fact that Donald Trump did a rug pull one day before his inauguration is so insane to me. And then Melania did one as well. And then another Ryan Fournier or whatever, the other Trump students guy also did one back to back to back. Who is buying that Trump coin? Who is actually getting grifted here? Who is losing their money here? It's his own supporters. I'm not buying the Trump coin. People who hate Donald Trump are not buying Trump coin. People who love Donald Trump are buying Trump coin. So when you do stuff like that, you're actually rocking your own captive audience. It's crazy that this transparent graft is happening in real time in broad daylight. No one seems to understand what's going on either. They just think like, nah, it's great. I'm never missing out like this again. I'm setting up alerts for everyone in that world. 4G auto blow, Ryan Fournier, I don't care. I'm getting it on the ground floor the next 10 coins or however many it takes for me to buy an F-15. It's money laundering. I'm sure there's money laundering as well. Like, I'm sure we don't know. We don't know anything. It's just the hilarious part about this is that it's just so unrestricted and unregulated. It's just like genuinely the most obvious scam of all time. But as conditions worsen, as it becomes increasingly harder to actually earn a dollar in the normal way through your wage, and as things get more and more expensive and upward social mobility becomes less likely, what do? You gamble. You spend money on things that maybe help you no longer things that help you feel like the world isn't shit, okay? Whether it be fans or TikTok or all these other treats that you spend money on. And you think maybe I can also get one off on the other person by engaging in this like cryptocurrency stuff. That's where we're at. So I think it's still going to get worse. I think it's going to get worse and worse. People will, one, try to pacify themselves through a litany of different vices, whether it be drugs or any number of different things. And I don't have an issue with these vices in moderation anyway. But I do think that it spells trouble for the American future in general. But as conditions worsen, they will also try to, grab onto whatever they think is a mechanism of prosperity. What is the greatest immediate get-rich-quick scheme? Cryptocurrency. So all these people, knowing full well that coins are, memes and obvious grifts, will jump on that train thinking they can over the next person. That is where we're at. They think, oh, I'll be able to scam the other guy. I'll be able to get out before anyone else. And that's how these schemes work.
Is Liberation Day. It is my hope that our recent presidential election will be remembered as the greatest and most consequential election in the history of our country. As our victory showed, the entire nation is rapidly unifying behind our agenda with dramatic increases in support from virtually every element of our society, young and old, men and women, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, urban, suburban, rural, and very importantly, we had a powerful win in all 7 swing states, and the popular vote, we won by millions of people. To the Black and Hispanic communities, I want to thank you for the tremendous outpouring of love and trust that you have shown me with your vote. We set records, and I will not forget it. I've heard your voices in the campaign, and I look forward to working with you in the years to come. Today is Martin Luther King Day, and his honor, this will be a great honor, but in his honor, we will strive together to make his dream a reality. We will make his dream come true. Thank you. Thank you. National unity is now returning to America, and confidence and pride is soaring like never before. In everything we do, my administration will be inspired by a strong pursuit of excellence and unrelenting success. We will not forget our country, we will not forget our Constitution, and we will not forget our God. Can't do that. Today, I will sign a series of historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense. First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border.
Yeah, I increased the speed, chat.
All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy. I will end the practice of catch and release. And I will send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country. Under the orders I signed today, we will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. And by invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, I will direct our government to use the full and immense power of federal and state law enforcement to eliminate the presence of all foreign gangs and criminal networks, bringing devastating crime to U.S. soil, including our cities and inner cities.
War on Terror
As Commander-in-Chief,
but
I
Mexico.
have no higher responsibility than to defend our country from threats and invasions, and that is exactly what I am going to do. We will do it at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Next, I will direct all members of my cabinet to marshal the vast powers at their disposal to defeat what was record inflation and rapidly bring down costs and prices. The inflation crisis was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices, and that is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill. America will be a manufacturing nation once again, and we have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have, the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we are going to use it. Going to use it. We will bring prices down, fill our strategic reserves up again, right to the top, and export American energy all over the world. We will be a rich nation again, and it is that liquid gold under our feet that will help to do it. With my actions today, we will...
Remember, in terms of the liquid gold under our feet, this is, once again, another anti-China initiative, or rather, instead of trying to compete with China on the renewable energy side of things, I think that this administration and even the Biden administration didn't like do what was necessary to the degree that it was necessary. There was some stuff that the Biden administration did in terms of like beefing up our manufacturing capabilities, like battery plants, things of that nature. But there's two different mindsets here. Either you look at climate change and you realize that carbon emissions must be cut, and you work to you spend a lot of money in R&D and try to make renewable energy more efficient and move away from fossil fuels, which is precisely what China is doing right now and has become the dominating force around the globe. Or you supercharge our current existing energy infrastructure that is reliant on fossil fuels with no care or consideration for the globe, including the United States of America as well, obviously, because we are, at the end of the day, also on this planet. And it is short-term. It is it's unimaginably short-term profit focused, but it is expected. So while China becomes the dominant force on renewable energy, although fossil fuels are a finite resource, a reality that even our fossil fuel producers recognize, which is why they've tried to hedge their bets by purchasing a bunch of these like green energy, renewable energy companies as well, to make sure that they have some kind of say in what happens in the future of energy. I think we've decided, at least with the Trump administration, that we are going to completely cut this renewable energy stuff and hyper focus on fossil fuels and keep melting the planet. God forbid we collaborate and cooperate with a foreign adversary and try to fix the ecological disaster that is already happening and will only get worse. Of course, we're not going to do that. Instead, we're looking to melt the table. Instead of playing the game, we're just going to flip the table, or rather, light the table on fire. That much is clear.
Then the Green New Deal, and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers. In other words, you'll be able to buy the car of your choice.
Unless it's a Chinese car, by the way, just saying. What's interesting about this is that it's not like Biden was open to allowing BYD or any sort of like Chinese cars to enter the American marketplace. Like that wasn't the case. So I don't know what he's talking about here. Maybe he's saying like he's going to tariff European cars or something. Maybe, I don't know. Because Biden also maintained that trade restriction.
We will build automobiles in America again at a rate that nobody could have dreamt possible just a few years ago. And thank you to the auto workers of our nation for your inspiring vote of confidence. We did tremendously with their vote. I will immediately begin the overhaul of our trade system to protect American workers and families. Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens. For this purpose, we are establishing the External Revenue Service to collect all tariffs, duties, and revenues. It will be massive amounts of money pouring into our treasury, coming from foreign sources. The American dream will soon be back and thriving like never before to restore competence and effectiveness to our federal government. My administration will establish the brand new Department of Government Efficiency. After years and years of illegal and unconstitutional federal efforts to restrict free expression, I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America.
This, I think, is extra funny. Saying we're going to bring back free speech to America is basically, I mean, that's just, it's gone, okay? Like, there's always been restrictions on free speech, as I talked about extensively earlier, and I do think that it's going to get significantly worse. Project Esther, under the Project 2025 banner, quite literally has a task force designated to combating anti-Israel sentiment. Okay. And I do think that they're going to follow through on that. I think that this administration is somehow even, maybe to the same degree, not even more captured, but to the same degree, captured by the same exact interest in terms of advancing American foreign policy, which of course means no mean words about Israel whatsoever. So I do think that in terms of like free speech, we're going to bring back free speech. Like, remember, these guys actively are anti-CRT, anti-DEI or whatever, right? Like whatever they call wokeness, that is anti-free speech, okay? In terms of going after teachers and schooling and educational materials that teach the accurate the accurate history of the United States of America, that is anti-free speech. Book bans, anti-free speech. That is real cancel culture, okay? No one ever seems to see it that way when the right does it, but that is true. And they're going to continue doing that, okay? They are going to continue doing that, and they're going to further prosecute, in my opinion, further prosecute people who are naysayers of Israel, but also even the American government too.
Never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents, something I know something about. We will not allow that to happen. It will not happen again. Under my leadership, we will restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law. And we are going to bring law and order back to our cities. This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
Hell yeah! Let's go! No more non-binary. Like, what is this? What is this? What is this? What are you clapping for? You're such a idiot, dude. I'm serious. Like, I know that understandably a lot of trans people in this community are terrified of this because this is a telltale sign that he's going to hyper focus on, like, you know, trans people and trying to like eviscerate them from public existence. Okay. The idea that this in any way, shape, or form, like dominating trans people being a top priority of this administration is so insane to me. And I keep trying to explain this to normies to the best of my ability, but it's like, if you think that stopping trans people from getting medication, okay, or going to the doctor is going to somehow make it so that rent is cheaper, you are the biggest delusional loser on the planet, okay? You are a bot. You are a bot. You're an NPC. You are the easiest to fool sucker I have ever seen, okay? So the fact that these guys are clapping for this, like, yeah, it's like, you're like, what has a trans person ever done to you? Nothing. They, as a matter of fact, not souls in here because they are a part of the elites, but for the average Republican, a trans person has the exact same class interest that you do. They're also working at the same job sites that you work at. They also have to pay rent. They also have to pay for food. They're experiencing the same economic shocks that you are. Incredibly stupid. Same goes for undocumented migrants, by the way. Once again, like, these guys think, oh, if we just harm, you know, the Mexicans or whatever, maybe the situation will be better for me. That's not how it works, and it's not going to be that way.
This week, I will reinstate any service members who were unjustly expelled from our military for objecting to the COVID vaccine mandate with full back pay. And I will sign an order to stop our warriors from being subjected to radical political theories and social experiments while on duty. It's going to end immediately. Our armed forces will be free to focus on their sole mission, defeating America's enemies.
Yeah, like the communists within our ranks.
Like in 2017, we will again build the strongest military the world has ever seen. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into. My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier. I'm pleased to say that as of yesterday, one day before I assumed office, the hostages in the Middle East are coming back home to their families. Thank you. America will reclaim its rightful place as the greatest, most powerful, most respected nation on earth, inspiring the awe.
Even, yeah, Biden put some respect on it. He'll stand for Israel. You know what I mean? His old ass heard Israel. I'm Israel hijack. I'm glad that we had a moment of unity there, you know?
Awe and admiration of the entire world. A short time from now, we are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and we will restore the name.
People are laughing.
Of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley, where it should be and where it belongs. President McKinley made our country very rich through tariffs and through talent. He was a natural businessman and gave Teddy Roosevelt the money for many of the great things he did, including the Panama Canal, which has foolishly been given to the country of Panama after the United States. The United States, I mean, think of this, spent more money than ever spent on a project before and lost 38,000 lives in the building of the Panama Canal. We have been treated very badly from this foolish gift that should have never been made, and Panama's promise to us has been broken. The purpose of our deal and the spirit of our treaty has been totally violated. American ships are being severely overcharged and not treated fairly in any way, shape, or form, and that includes the United States Navy. And above all, China is operating the Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China, we gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back. Above all, my message to Americans today is that it is time for us to once again act with courage, vigor, and the vitality of history's greatest civilization. So as we liberate our nation, we will lead it to new heights of victory and success. We will not be deterred. Together we will end the chronic disease epidemic and keep...
I'm once again saying, President Xi, fire when ready, okay? I'm here. I will receive it. We're so cooked. He doesn't have to do nothing. She doesn't have to do anything. He just he has to sit back and kick it, okay? As always, the greatest thing you can do is not disrupt your enemies when they're making a mistake.
Keep our children safe, healthy, and disease-free. The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory, builds our cities, raises our expectations, and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. And we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars.
What he's actually talking about when he said China operates the canal, usually there's a slightest kernel of truth to it. Like they let Chinese ships through or something. Yes. That's it. When he says that the Chinese are operating the canal, they're saying that like China is using the canal for trade. That's it. Like they don't operate the canal or anything like that.
Into the stars, launching a new territory.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did he say manifest destiny?
Raises our expectations and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. And we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars. Ambition.
Dude, come on, dude. What is this fit, bro? Like, what is this fit? Have some respect.
Is the lifeblood of a great nation. And right now, our nation is more ambitious than any other. There's no nation like our nation. Americans are explorers, builders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and pioneers. The spirit of the frontier.
Bro, also, Barron doesn't look convinced, dude. Look at this. Look at Barron. Look at Barron. Barron is out here being like, I don't know about this. Look at this man. Look at my man. Even Barron's like, you know what? I don't know about this.
Ambitious.
I don't know about what's going on.
Like our nation. Explorers, builders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and pioneers. The spirit of the frontier is written into our hearts. The call of the next great adventure resounds from within our souls. Our American ancestors turned a small group of colonies on the edge of a vast continent into a mighty republic of the most extraordinary citizens on earth. No one comes close. Americans pushed thousands of miles through a rugged land of untamed wilderness. They crossed deserts, scaled mountains, braved untold dangers, won the Wild West, ended slavery, rescued millions from tyranny, lifted billions from poverty, harnessed electricity, split the atom.
We love talking about how like there's so much myth making in China or whatever, or there's so much mythology in like North Korea, and then we say stuff like this. You know what I mean?
Launched mankind into the heavens and put the universe of human knowledge into the palm of the human hand. If we work together, there is nothing we cannot do and no dream we cannot achieve. Many people thought it was impossible for me to stage such a historic political comeback. But as you see today, here I am. The American people have spoken. I stand before you now as proof that you should never believe that something is impossible to do. In America, the impossible is what we do best. From New York to Los Angeles, from Philadelphia to Phoenix, from Chicago to Miami, from Houston to right here in Washington, D.C., our country was forged and built by the generations of patriots who gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. They were farmers and soldiers, cowboys and factory workers, steel workers and coal miners, police officers and pioneers who pushed onward, marched forward, and let no obstacle defeat their spirit or their pride. Together they laid down the railroads, raised up the skyscrapers, built great highways, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and triumphed over every single challenge that they faced. After all we have been through together, we stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in American history. With your help, we will restore America promise, and we will rebuild the nation that we love, and we love it so much. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. So to every parent who dreams for their child, and every child who dreams for their future, I am with you, I will fight for you, and I will win for you. We are going to win like never before. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. In recent years, our nation has suffered greatly. but we are going to bring it back and make it great again, greater than ever before. We will be a nation like no other, full of compassion, courage, and exceptionalism. Our power will stop all wars and bring a new spirit of unity to a world that has been angry, violent, and totally unpredictable. America will be respected again and admired again, including by people of religion, faith, and goodwill. We will be prosperous. We will be proud. We will be strong, and we will win like never before. We will not be conquered. We will not be intimidated. We will not be broken, and we will not fail. From this day on, the United States of America will be a free, sovereign, and independent nation. We will stand bravely. We will live proudly. We will dream boldly, and nothing will stand in our way because we are Americans. The future is ours, and our golden age has just begun. Thank you. God bless America. Thank you all. Thank you.
Sounds like the United States is back on its feet. Yeah, definitely. We're back, baby. We're back. We're so back. Yeah. Remember what? Funny when he said America defeated fascism. Yeah, defeated it. Sure. Reigniting it more like, but